Solving inequalities by multiplying or dividing. Our objective is to solve one-step inequalities by multiplying and dividing. Who uses this? You can solve an inequality to determine how much you can buy with a certain amount of money. Let's look at a couple of examples. Multiplying or dividing by a positive number. So we're going to solve each inequality and graph the solutions. Alright, so we're dealing with positive numbers here. We want to separate both sides of our equation. And we have 3 times x. So the inverse would be to divide both sides of the equation by 3, or inequality by 3. So we have x is greater than -9. So we're going to have an open circle on -9. And all of the x values are greater than. So we're going to shade to the right. Take a moment and pause the video and try B. Alright, so we're going to separate both sides of our inequality. And we have 2 divided by 3 times r. So to get rid of this 2/3 times r, we are going to multiply by the reciprocal, because that's the same thing as dividing by a fraction. So we're going to multiply by 3/2 on both sides of our equation, or inequality, sorry. And we have r is less than, so we have 6 times 3, and then divide that by 2, which gives you 9. So we have an open circle on 9. And all of the r values are less than 9, so you're going to shade to the left. Alright, let's look at if you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number. The resulting inequality will not be a true statement. Therefore, you need to reverse the inequality symbol to make the statement true. Let's look at an example with numbers. We know that 5 is greater than -3. Well, what if we multiplied both sides of the inequality by -2? Well, 5 times -2 is -10. -3 times -2 is 6. If we kept the inequality symbol the same, we would have -10 is greater than 6. But that's not right. Therefore, you need to reverse the inequality symbol to make the statement true. So therefore, you would flip or reverse the inequality statement, and then you have a true statement. Alright, so let's try it. We have -8 times x is greater than 72. So we are going to divide both sides of the inequality by -8. So we're going to divide the left by -8 and the right side by -8. Now you're dividing by a negative. So since you're dividing by a negative, you need to reverse this inequality symbol. So we have x is less than -9. Because a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Alright, so we have an open circle on -9, and all of the x values are going to be less than -9, so we are going to shade to the left. Alright, try this next one on your own. Alright, now that you've had a chance to try it on your own, let's try it together. Alright, so we have x divided by -5, and that's going to be greater than or equal to this -3. So we want to multiply both sides of the equation by -5. So we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by a negative number. When that happens, we need to make sure we flip our inequality symbol. And we're left with x on the right-hand side, and we have negative times a negative, which makes it a positive. And 3 times 5 is 15. So we're going to have a filled-in circle on 15. And all of the x values are smaller, so we're going to shade to the left. Let's see if my shade job can be a little better than the last one. There we go. And that would be multiplying or dividing by a negative number. Let's look at a consumer application. Ryan has a $16 gift card for a health store where a smoothie costs $2.50 with tax. What are the possible numbers of smoothies that Ryan can buy? Alright, well, let's look at an inequality. Well, each smoothie is $2.50. So if he buys one, you have $2.50. If he buys two, you are at $5. And whatever he does, for however many smoothies he buys, he needs to make sure he's not spending more than his allotted $16, because that's all he has on his gift card. Alright, so now let's figure out what the possible number of smoothies are. Okay, so we're multiplying, and the inverse operation of that would be to divide. So we're going to divide both sides of the inequality by 250. And when we do so, that will give us S is less than or equal to 6.4. Notice we didn't divide or multiply by a negative, so we did not flip the inequality symbol. You only flip the inequality symbol when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Alright, well, he can purchase 6.4 smoothies or less than that. So technically, he can purchase 0 smoothies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. You can't buy a partial smoothie. Alright, and that will conclude our lesson on solving inequalities by multiplying or dividing.